Conversation. 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 Conversation.
Innit? Ah! Anyone in? Never occurred to me how much like one of your feet properly looks like a bell end.
Hey, my neighbors will be
Idiot!
There's no way to talk about yourself.
True.
Fucking idiot.
Okay then. Okay, yes, I know you're angry. Ow, my ass. Look at this. I'm going to draw a frowny face because I'm really disappointed at you. Only we're going to know it's there. Praise, please. Right, do French.
No French, not James Acaster.
Brick. Corduroy. Colombian hash.
Lick the stump!
Filibuster. Moose furs. No! 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 No!
Come with me,
Come.
and you'll be
Bang.
in a world of photosensitive seizures.
Lavender oil. Marjorie. Marge Simpson. Abe Simpson. Abe Lincoln. Top hats. Fedoras. Incels. Hand jobs. Hand lotion. Lotion. Oils. Back to lavender oil. There you go. Did it in one. I have nothing else to give. Right, go stand somewhere.
3, 2, 1.
Wait, hang on. I'm having not just second thoughts, but third, fourth, and fifth thoughts. I don't know if I should do this right.
No, this is not. Fucking hell.
3.
No, hang on, wait.
I didn't tell him to do that. Why didn't you tell him?
Milk.
That's the job, mate. You ready? Mm-hmm. Maybe inhale a wee bit. Okay.
This might look like any other under 12's hardcore shindiggy rave doodah, but it may surprise you to know that all these children are on drugs. It might cause you more shock and vexation to further your knowing and know no further that these children are actually in their 80s and or 90s. The new drug taking the elderly by storm and or hurricane. Hashtag YOLOAP. This old cow has just spent the last of her winter fuel allowance on hashtag YOLOAP. Look at the grin on her smug, wrinkled old fucking face. She knows in just a few minutes she'll be a child again, free to relive an unsanctioned, if only temporary, additional adolescence. Except this time without all the rationing and bombs.
What am I going to feed them on?
A human.
Are they coloured?
Taken subliminally, the drug can last up to 2 2/4 days, but if one were to double dip in the fountain of youth, the effects could last up to 3 3/3 of a week. It is in the second week of regressional where participants risk a YOLOAPS. It is in this state where the truly hardcore raving begins. Here we see how wrong things can go. This batch of hashtag YOLOAP was cut with Werther's Originals and cod liver oil. The mental effects are the same, but without the desired physical effects. The pensioner will continue to rave until expiration, about 10 seconds from now, at huge expense to the taxpayer. Even worse, when we look at the creation of #YOLOAP, we see the drug as harming small communities. Here we see farmers gathering the grains used to create the drug. Although harmless in its natural state, fumes generated in the fermentation process have been proven to cause a deformity known as babyface. The afflicted suffer with inconvenient youth, meaning they must always carry proof of age when attempting to buy alcohol and ciggies. Side effects often include avoidance of homework, unsafe driving, unrequited morning wood, sugar, Harry Potter obsessions, and dead legs. In rare cases, many OAPs have become stuck in adolescence and have to plan for the future. Marriage, employment, university. University inevitably means more drugs, I'll have you wager. Surprisingly, users of #YOLOAP make up the highest percentage of teenage pregnancies. Some parents now worry about intergenerational whoopsie-doodles, the progeny of their progeny dangling like pendulous, wilting berries off of the family tree.
I was wondering if you'd like to go to the Strand to see a movie Saturday night. Or if you'd rather go with the gang on a skating party and weenie roast. Weenie roast.
Curiously, #YOLOAP barely affects those under the age of 70. Users claim to feel symptomless nausea before appearing to regress to the point before they first took the drug. Hope is on the horizon, however. Sweden recently passed a law allowing for the preemptive abortion of the elderly. The streets are safe, television set at an unpainful volume, and the cheeks of the adorable remain unpinched. Alas, back in merry old Blighty, no ends in sight to the scourge of #YOLOAP. Government officials are drafting legislation to combat abuse of the substance, whilst denying that the Queen has herself been indulging in the fad. She did, however, form the rap posse, Little Liz, and the Bitch Slaps, much to the annoyance of Charlie.
I don't raise national debt if I sold my scepter, but I represent God, so show some respect. I lick the stump. La 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 la, lick the stump.
Remember, children and the elderly, there is a time to gurn and a time to learn.
Yo, 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 Goober, where's the meat? Normal people love.
We all win friends with.
Normal people love.
We all win friends with.
Normal people.
We all win friends with.
Normal people love me.
We all win.
Normal people.
We all win friends with. We all win friends with.
Normal people love me. Normal people love.
We all win friends with.
Normal people love.
We all win friends with.
Normal people.
We all win friends with.
Normal people love me. Normal people love.
We all win friends with.
Normal people love.
We all win friends with.
Normal people.
We all win friends with.
Normal people love me. Yo, Goober, where's the meat?
Live. Die. Die? Live. 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 Live! Live! Stop! Live! Live!
We did it. We successfully did it. We did it.
What?
We did it.
Who?
It only took us an hour, but we did it.
Whoa, wow. Wow, it did.
Ben, do you want to explain to Simon Pettit, in particular on Twitch, what it was that happened?
It took us even longer because it wasn't making noise. I'm going to move. I'm
took
in
us.
my pajamas today, so.
It took us even longer because it didn't make sound. That's Ben's official.
Took us over an hour and a half because Liam's voice wasn't coming through my headphones, like some sort of bell end. That's all his fault.
Yeah.
So it took us over an hour and a half to figure that out, and now we're here on Zoom instead of Discord, like I said. Well, I didn't.
I mean,
but I thought it.
No one's to know that we're on Zoom instead of Discord. Only we know that.
Well,
that's our secret.
Yes,
yeah,
Captain Buddy, salt.
Thank you for the salt and Simon Pettit. Yeah, we're here. We did it. We finally did it. The chat isn't appearing on screen, and I've just got to assume that that's your fault, Ben.
Why?
I don't know, but hang
the
on.
chat is on Twitch.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
There.
No.
It's gift a sub now and be number one.
Yeah, but it's not on the actual stream window. It's in the chat window. For example, if I do this, bear with. No, none of it's going to work today. Just nothing. Nothing at all. There was supposed to be an animated thing that pops up because I subscribed just now, but it didn't show up. I'm frankly amazed that we're alive. Even. I think that's a big deal that we don't focus on, just the mere fact that we're able to breathe and live and stuff. I think that's incredible. So frankly, anything else is a bonus. Yeah. Anything else like live streams or podcasts, that's all a bonus.
Oh no, now I've got you. I've got so much noise of you coming through my laptop. The problem was there was no noise, and now you're coming through from everywhere.
Yeah, that's because I already have 3 microphones on. I don't want. Hey, it worked. Captain Buddy 7 just subscribed.
Confusing and scary.
That's not me. That's the mystery person with all the salt.
Yeah.
A subscriber. It happened.
Good for Captain Buddy.
We need to do something whenever we get a subscriber or a follower.
Captain Buddy.
Captain Buddy 7. No, the animation did show.
Killing.
It happened. It happened. It was great. My face was up. It was all good. So we need to do something now. Do I need to come over there and give you a hand job? No.
Who are you talking to?
You, Ben. The person I'm doing a podcast with.
You can't toss me off at maintaining a safe 2-meter distance.
I don't know. Your penis is pretty large.
That's not how dicks work. Surely you'd have to be 2 meters away from the nearest part.
Simon Pettit use a litter picker. That is the best and worst thing I've ever heard. Ben, tell us your best 40-second limerick. Go, do it, Ben, do it.
40-second limerick.
Yeah, 40-second limerick. Drag it out.
There once was a man called Liam.
I don't like it.
It sounded like his name is Leanne.
Sure.
His name's not Leanne.
Correct.
He's Liam.
Yeah.
He lives his life as a man made of jam.
Now that wasn't a limerick because it went on for too long.
Yeah, well, you said 30, 40 seconds. Those bunches.
Was that 40 seconds?
I don't fucking know. I couldn't make stuff up and count. I'm not math wizard.
Aren't you?
No, I'm not very good at maths.
I thought you were a math wizard.
Meth wizard?
A method actor?
What are you doing?
Okay, if anyone in the chat wants to try it, I feel like the chatbot should work now. I don't know,
What is a chatbot?
but I feel like it should. The chat, well, not the chatbot, sorry, the chat window. The chat window is the thing that appears on the screen.
Yes.
Yeah. Bot of chat. And now we wait a few seconds to see if that appears. Because if it doesn't, I truly don't know why. Yeah, this thing. Hey, it does work. Welcome to the future, only an hour late.
It is now.
Amazing. So we have a thing so that our YouTube people can interact with our Twitch people. And I frankly think that's incredible. I know. So everyone knows where everyone is.
That's
Ben,
lovely.
Ben, I'm going to need another 40-second limerick if you don't mind. Thank you very much.
If it helps, I could do a haiku.
Would that be longer?
Yeah, because it's more difficult.
Go on then.
I nearly pressed the wrong thing. That would have... Ah, shit, no, that's not a limerick. It's 575.
None of this is a limerick.
Almost pressed
Yeah.
wrong thing.
Right.
That button would have been bad.
Sure.
I'm glad it wasn't. Was not. I'm glad it was not. There.
I'm glad
I
it was
did
not also.
Japanese freestyle poetry.
That's not a haiku. Simon Pettit
Yeah, it is.
is quite correct.
That is a haiku, 575.
575. What other forms of poetry do you know?
Interpretive.
Oh yeah.
Moose. Pillow. Oblong. Sapphires.
You.
Shamalam.
Shamalam. M Night or
Yeah.
regular?
Night.
M Night. Okay.
It was a sonnet. Sonnets are just pieces of dick. They're like, what, 14 lines? Is it 14 lines? It has a load of syllables.
Right.
And it's... What is... Hang on.
Are you googling sonnet?
Yeah,
I thought you were a theatre boy.
I am. I knew... See, 14-line poem written in iambic pentameter.
Oh yeah, good old iambic pentameter. It's my favourite pentameter, the iambic one. Go on, have a go.
I mean, there's Sonnet 40 something. The Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?
Yeah. Nah,
You
blood.
are most thou art more lovely and more temperate. That means you're nice and hot,
Oh heck.
like a Thursday in June.
Ooh, which one?
Oh, the warm and temperate one.
The warm and temperate one.
All right, let's do 14 lines.
Let's do it.
14 lines. It's almost limericks.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to do a sonnet about your hair.
Right. I'm looking forward
Liam's
to it.
hair is blonde.
True.
Liam's hair is long.
Mm-hmm. Say it. Say it.
Shampoo has left his hair all stronged.
Stronged.
It dangles down past his dong.
Not quite.
Yellow is Liam's hair.
Yeah.
It's he doesn't have split ends.
No, I do.
It hangs down to his derriere.
Yeah.
Oops, his split ends never end. What's
If-
that? That's 8.
If when nude, I do this, and I clench my butt cheeks, I can grab my own hair.
If when nude he does this,
Yeah.
he can grab his own butt cheeks.
Yeah.
It sounds like he will take the piss,
I
but
will.
he's been practicing for weeks. Liam's hair is really cool. I schooled you, bitch.
Do they?
You're a fool.
Does it need to rhyme, or is that not important?
It's iambic pentameter, so it's A B A B, C D C D E F E F G G.
Right.
No. I don't know. That's the rhythm. Oh, that's the rhythm scheme. I did not do the 10 beats per line. So I guess that sonnet was all bollocks. I hope you enjoyed.
I think all sonnets are bollocks. That's my
That's your view on the world.
That's my view on the world. Hot take, trademark. That's what I was going to say. We're talking about nostalgia today.
yeah.
I'm nostalgic for a time when we could do podcasts in person. So literally, I was the one that had to worry about audio drivers and that, and it was fine. As opposed to now, when breathing on your loved ones is an issue, can't do it. And queuing outside Hobbycraft, you have loads of old dearies who don't quite understand that. Now, you can still kill people, though, even if you don't care whether you get it. You can still kill people. Fuck off. That was my morning. How was yours?
Well, I saw quite an interesting thing.
I'm sure you did.
That we should really tell everyone whether it's true or not. I'm not sure of the moral... You know, it's possibly a moral grey area.
I love them.
A study has shown that potential after effects of coronavirus, of having it, is shrinking of the penis and testicles upon recovery, and penile numbness, and like erectile dysfunction. So either this is true, and you all should wear a mask so your willy don't fall off, or it's bollocks, but we should tell people that it's true so then they wear a mask so their willy don't fall off, or like my internet is just trying to be mean by throwing up stuff that's going to make me paranoid for the next 3 weeks.
I mean, it could be a combination of any of those things, really.
Like, you know when Wish pops up on Facebook and it's like, here's stuff from that thing that you like, and right next to it is scary hardcore sex.
Yep.
Metal plastic things.
Sex Metal Plastic Things was the name of my improv troupe.
Right. And you think, well, I like the things from the show that I like, but then there's the big angry sex things that I'm pretty sure I've never searched for.
Yes.
Does it know something about me that I don't know about myself? So when it turns up saying, yeah, you're gonna, it's like why you don't go on WebMD to Google your symptoms.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna die.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna tell you that you've got, I don't know, prostate of the cancer, and all kind of yellow fever eye spots or whatever. Even if you just say you got a hangnail. So yeah, that's been my morning. Terrified that someone put a Reddit post out about my specific genitalia.
There's r/abrupt chaos, which I'm sure your penis has already featured on. I think the reason Wish does that is that it combines things that you have searched for and all your cookie data and all of that with things that, like, I guess it just makes the assumption that no one's Googling for weird metallic sexual objects, but like 50% of people, if given opportunity,
Everyone wants them.
Yeah, everyone wants them, even if you don't know you want them. Like CBD oil, I guess. So I guess it's just like gambling with the fact that like half the people in the world are probably freaks.
A little bit kinky.
Also, r/abrupt chaos is a really good way to waste an evening, but also potentially ruin your day. So That's some advice. Shall we begin the actual podcast? Do you want
what's r/abrupt chaos?
It's a subreddit dedicated to when things go very wrong very quickly. So you could, and it's always like someone was. My favorite one of all time is a guy who's like he's in a pond, and it's like really idyllic, and he's like he's taking a video of like a duck or a fish or something really innocuous like that. And then literally out of nowhere, an alligator appears. And there's like 3 frames of alligator and he's just sprinting in the other direction. And that's the gist of what Abrupt Chaos is. It's pretty good.
Okay. Have you seen the video of some guy biking through the woods and then like he turns around and there's a bear running after him?
Yeah.
He turns the corner of this little dirt path and a tree has fallen across it.
Yeah.
So he just launches himself off of the bike, runs and hides behind a tree. And then I think I'm assuming he wouldn't have like poked his head round. Maybe he took his head cam off and like turned it round, and this bear is just standing near his bike looking around.
That's amazing.
I'm so glad that we don't live in a country where bears and alligators are a thing.
We're going to get wolves again soon, apparently. That's what I've been told.
Where are we going to put them?
I think they're going to turn up. Is this the whole Britain's full thing?
Well, no. I mean, we've got woodland, but not loads of it. Not enough. To sustain.
Sure.
More than several wolf packs. I think I know everything about the habitat of wolves and
well,
diversity
let me put it
of the
this
English
way.
countryside. Scotland, maybe.
Let me put
Wales,
it this way: we've got
they've
foxes.
got lots of mountains and things.
We got foxes and badgers in the garden here. We're not exactly in a city or well, we are kind of in a city, but we're somewhat more rural. So like if we're going to get badgers and foxes here, I figure they're probably making space themselves. Like you get all the badgers out of the woodland, so you can have a bunch of bears and wolves up on the Magog Hills.
I was in the city centre.
Yeah.
And a fox just shot across the road.
Yeah, that's happened a few times.
In like the middle of the day.
Yeah.
I was like, what? So that was weird.
Foxes tend to appear near me when I'm drunk. I've noticed that. It might just be a lockdown thing. Like
is that just your beer goggles?
Could be my beer goggles. Everything's
bit drunk
foxy.
and think they're extra bit foxy.
The last time we were at the pub before the lockdown, which was a few weeks before the lockdown, we were walking home, and again, like close to the inner city, not exactly rural, we see a fox on Mill Road, which is, pretty residential, and like it sticks his head out the corner of the road, clocks us. We stop because we're drunk, and we make eye contact with the fox, and then he just slowly retreats. So then we scamper up to the corner of the road. We look down, and there's at least an additional 3 foxes just buggering off into the distance.
Okay.
Heading towards the city centre somehow.
See, now imagine if they're wolves. You'd shit yourself.
Or bears. 3 bears. No thanks.
No more additional bears for me.
No, exactly.
Yeah, go on. Let's start the thing.
Are you sure? Are you sure we can stay awake? I've hit record, have you?
No, I'm not sure.
But have you hit record?
Oh, I've been recording for ages.
Have you actually?
Yeah.
MK, I'm going to...
I'll stop and start again.
Thank you. I'm going to butcher your surname here. MK Tusenfoot? I tried. Foxes seem to increase here in my Swedish town as well. Yeah, I think a lot of cities... I don't know why. Could just be all the deforestation, maybe. Yeah, everyone's just got foxes these days. I don't hate it. My neighbour hates it. He bought a gun. But I don't hate it.
I'm going to be much, much nicer to your neighbours from now on.
Simon Pettit on Twitch. I have a fun pirate fact to share with the class whenever you're ready. You share away, buddy. we will work around you. That's the whole point in having a chat function. But it better be about pirates. It better be a fact, and it better be fun. Because I swear to God, if it's
I was
not all
about
of
to
those
say,
things,
if it's just the fact that pirates only wear eye patches because then, not because they've lost an eye, but they go down below deck and they swap it so that their eye is already adjusted to the darkness, then that's not fun. That's just a fact.
I mean, it is fun, but I've also heard that fact before, and that's what makes it less fun. If the fact is that pirates
so it's not
are
fun.
fun, I will let that slide. I'll be fine with that.
Why are Liam? Why are pirates fun? Because they are.
What's this?
Little Hook.
Little Hook?
Arr.
Is that some kind of rapper?
Arr.
Some kind of steampunk rapper? What is... What are you doing? What is that supposed to be?
I'm Captain Me.
Are you?
I'm being a pirate, Liam, okay?
I don't understand why that would make you a pirate.
Jesus.
Okay.
They've got hooks for hands.
Do they? I've never seen that. Do pirates have hooks for hands?
Big old pirate boy.
Big old pirate
Yeah,
boy.
you not seen Peter Pan?
I haven't seen Peter Pan. What's it about? Don't say pirates.
It's about how you make like saucepans and stuff.
Ah, okay. The IKEA story.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so let's start the podcast. What?
Go on then.
Shall I do the intro? I can do the intro.
Shall I press record now?
Have you not hit record?
I pressed record and then you said not to, and then I haven't, so I'm gonna.
You're gonna hit record now.
There, I've pressed record. Jesus Christ.
I've also pressed record for the second
Come
time.
on, you do the intro.
I'm getting really good at it. Okay.
I don't want to speak to you anymore, which is a bad sign considering we're just starting the podcast.
This is the conversation hat.
The show. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to do it anymore.
I want to do it more, so let's compromise and carry on.
Fine.
Welcome to Shit the Bed. Welcome back to the Conversation Hat Podcast.
Little bit of shit in the bed.
Welcome back to the Conversation Hat Podcast, a comedy podcast for geeks, artists, and Ben. It's for Ben. The show is for Ben. It's all about Ben.
Thanks. Thanks, guys.
That's my co-host Ben. He's over there. We're socially distant, and I'm Liam. I'm also socially distant. Sorry, I'm just seeing a lot of really funny stuff happening in the chat. I'm going to address what's going on in the chat in a second. This is the live streamed podcast recording where me and Ben spend an hour installing audio drivers in order to then have Ben freeze within 3 minutes of hitting the record button. I can hear him, but I can only see his chin. It's really good. Ben, are you aware that you're frozen? That's a no.
I was frozen for a little bit, as were you. And the chat. Do you want to say what's going on in the chat? Because I think that's probably got something to do with it.
Yeah, it could be. So Simon Pettit on Twitch was going to give us a very fun pirate fact, and the Streamlabs bot has freaked out because he sent like 3 lines of text, and I don't know if it's muted him. It might have muted him, which would be just amazing. I don't know what to do about that. Simon Pettit's fun pirate fact. This is the whole reason we do the live stream, is so that we can have people muted live on air. So all the surviving sheet music that was written by people who are believed to be former sailors or pirates, statistically speaking, were all written in the same key. Preliminary research seems to suggest that most sea shanties had been sung in a high C. I don't think that's a fact. I think that's a pun. And puns aren't always facts, but I do like it.
Funny.
Also, when you talk about scales and keys, you don't have to specify whether it's high or not. You just sort of You just sort of do. Doesn't matter. Today we're talking about nostalgia.
High C is fun.
That's true. Today we're talking about
Speaking of
nostalgia. Wow, that's a very broken Ben.
There would be signs.
You might need to say all of that again because everything died.
Oh, really? How about now?
How about now? Now it's fine for the moment. We're doing really well.
Okay, cool. I've closed a lot of the things I had open for other reasons. So
that will help.
Yeah. I would go. We went to Wales with my dad, and there would be signs warning of like the cliffs and the high mountains and stuff that said high peaks. So whenever we went past one, we all had to go peaks, because then it's a high peak, like a high sea with pirates singing. That's why you have to say high sea, Liam, because otherwise it's not fun. It's just a thing to say.
Today's topic is nostalgia. I'm nostalgic for the time when I didn't have to hear about Ben's family holidays. Ben, are you nostalgic for your family holidays?
Piece of shit.
Your feelings for me are irrelevant.
No, I can't really remember them, to be honest. They were just holidays. I don't think you can really feel nostalgic for holidays, because everyone would rather be on holiday, right?
No, not me.
At some point, you would rather. Why not?
Because I like doing stuff, and I like doing the stuff that I want to do, and that's why I do the stuff I want to do. I don't want to take a break from doing the stuff I want to do. But I realise that I'm in a privileged position of having a job I actually like most of the time. And then all the freelance stuff, I'd rather do the freelance stuff than take a week off and then have a bunch more freelance stuff build up. But I also I'm also really bad at taking time off, so I need to get better at that because my brain stops working most of the time.
Yeah, you should.
Don't take life advice from me.
No, don't.
Can you be nostalgic for a time in your life that you don't specifically remember, but you just kind of remember the feel of? Is that a thing?
I guess. I mean, it would be.
It's tricky, isn't it? Simon Petter says yes.
I mean, it would be kind of cool to, I don't know, like maybe 5 or 6. You know, you're at the point when you've stopped pissing the bed. You
Speak
still
for yourself. Fancy man.
But, you know, yeah, you get ice cream. People make you dinner. The house is pretty much always clean, or at least it's cleaned up after you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the worst things that happen when you're like 5 is you fall over or you have to put your toys away. So I wouldn't mind. Actually, to be fair, during lockdown, spent a lot of time in the house, and at the moment, some of the worst things that happen are me falling down or having to tidy up.
How many times have you fallen down since lockdown?
3?
3 times.
3 times. I'm not to the point in my life where it is considered to be me having a fall. I have just fallen. I've not. Oh.
Because that's much more of an event, isn't it? And a problematic event.
I think it's a point in your life where I think it's when you fall over, just as you have done possibly more times in your life, but the repercussions are more severe.
That's true. So we have a few talking points, specific things that we're going to talk about, and I guess it's worth I guess it's worth kind of stating when we were kids and what sort of areas, what sort of time period we're talking about. So I was born in 1989. I'm going to guess that Ben was born 90.
I was born in 1990. Well done.
And all that was just simple maths, because I know you're a year younger than me. I used my logic brain and it worked. So
well done.
So obviously I don't remember the 80s, although I was technically there. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about is the 90s through to very early 2000s. I'm going to say maybe we'll talk a little bit about secondary school, but probably not, because I think sort of younger than that's probably more interesting. So basically up to the very, very early 2000s, 90s to very early 2000s. The categories I have in front of me are TV, film, game, food, music, and books. I haven't written anything for food. So shall we start there? Do you have any food that you're nostalgic for?
The things that you haven't done. Yeah, sure. Do you remember the first time you had mashed potatoes?
No, but you clearly do, and there's a story here.
I don't necessarily remember the first time I've had mashed potatoes, but because, you know, it's probably a baby. But I do remember really being happy when mashed potatoes were for dinner.
Okay.
This is when I was at the age that you didn't know what was for dinner until dinner turned up.
That was awful for me, but yeah, carry on.
It could be anything from spaghetti bolognese to fish fingers and chips.
Yeah.
Or, you know, it just turns up. Mother would bring it through.
Very modern household.
And when you got mashed potatoes, it was always fun because you can play with mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
You can make little things. And what I used to like doing is making little holes and putting ketchup in there and then mixing it all up so you get pink mash.
Yeah, fair.
And I remember specifically always trying to hide more ketchup in my mash than I was allowed.
Okay. What was the logic? What was the logic behind limiting?
Nicer.
Yeah, no, sorry. What was the logic behind limiting your ketchup?
Mum said don't have too much ketchup. I think it's along the same vein as when I would have cereal. That's what we had for breakfast before school. There would be the little sugar pot, so you put sugar on your cereal. And when Mum left the room, I would put like 6 more tablespoons of sugar on my cereal.
Yeah.
Because it tasted good.
Yeah.
She probably said, don't do it because it's unhealthy as balls.
Yeah.
I was eating, this was in the early 90s, early to mid 90s. Really sugary cereal back then. With another 6 to 10 tablespoons of sugar mixed in.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't good for little Ben.
Yeah, maybe. So I don't really have positive food memories from being a kid, and this is going to sound really evil, but like, Mum's a vegetarian, as far always has been as far as I remember. So like she, I don't know what it is, but then she was quite happy to prepare meat dishes. But of course she couldn't taste test any of them, and for some reason would refuse to follow recipes. So would just go with her intuition. But then not being a meat eater, she didn't seem to get what worked with meat. And so a lot of the meat related foods were not that great. And then she would try to do vegetarian substitutes for meat dishes like shepherd's pie, for example, and lasagna. But rather than, because she didn't like the traditional meat replacement foods, she would basically just use like mung beans or lentils. So like I got to the age of certainly in my early 20s thinking that all lasagna tasted nasty because it was made with lentils. So I remember I remember having lasagna and going, this is dope. What is in this? Beef, you say? Huh.
That's what's supposed to be in there.
So I wouldn't say I'm nostalgic for food in the 90s, more that I just feel fundamentally betrayed. And I think that's why I have bad impulse control when it comes to food now, because I really feel like at any second someone's going to replace these Doritos with lentils.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Do you think that your mum was possibly trying to encourage vegetarianism in the rest of the members of your household?
But the problem is when
And that's why she was making bad meat food? Or do you think she was vegetarian because she couldn't make meat taste good?
Oh, maybe. I hadn't thought of that. But the thing is that the vegetarian alternative also didn't taste good, so it wasn't a very good advertisement for vegetarian
That's not
food.
a good system.
Yeah, it's not. That's not how marketing works. It's like the food equivalent of negging. It's not good. It shouldn't happen.
Just doesn't work. Why are people trying it?
Well, exactly. So that's why I'm all broken. Do you have any other foods that you remember having for the first time?
Bagel bites.
Bagel bites. Now, what's a bagel bite?
They are not available anymore.
Okay.
Which is a travesty.
Sure.
They would be about so big, smaller than a tennis ball, bigger than a golf ball, sized bagels that had been cut in half.
Yeah.
They were frozen. They had tomato sauce on there
and
tiny little cubes of frozen cheese.
Cheese cube.
So they were like tiny mini pizzas.
Okay.
Put them in the fridge. Put them in the oven. They get lovely crusty, crispy cheese and crusty bottoms, and they were gorgeous.
Cool.
And you could tell that they were quality because they came in a bag.
Right. Yeah, that's the sign.
You know, you can tell this is good stuff.
Yeah.
And not absolute tap because it came in a bag. They were, again, probably riddled with sugar.
And sodium and all that good stuff.
Them.
The E numbers.
Back when E numbers were a thing. Good old
I miss
E
them.
numbers.
I miss the E numbers.
But you know, it was probably in no way good for me. But it was a lovely treat.
Yeah.
And you could just smash through a bag of them because they didn't fill you up very much. Another sign of quality ingredient.
Yes. Yeah, hunger seems to be a good sign that you're being treated something very expensive because there ain't enough of it. Maybe that's just me.
It was you can't get them anymore. I think you could probably go to one of the budget supermarkets and get something similar.
Yeah.
But they might still be a thing in America. I don't know, but you can't get them anymore. So I'm not sure if it's more the fact that I miss them.
Yeah.
Or that that was like one of the first things that I remember liking so much that I would just pound through a whole bag.
Yeah. That makes sense. What was I going to say? Can't remember.
You got any bad stories about pizza?
No.
Or bagels?
No, didn't have a bagel until I was in my 20s. Oh, heck. MK Tusenfoot. I remember a great Darth Vader ice cream that I loved as a kid. I remember that ice cream.
I remember that ice cream. And sometimes they would melt and then refreeze and they would look horrific.
Yeah, more like Chewbacca than Darth Vader when they melted. They were dope. Other things I remember, was it Space Raiders?
Space Raiders, 5p.
Yeah, man, 5p. And when Freddos were affordable. Bloody inflation.
Yeah.
Okay, licorice coated lemon. No, you've lost us. That might just be a Sweden thing, I'm afraid.
Licorice coated lemon.
Licorice coated lemon. That sounds horrid.
There were like the lemon lime. I think they were lime things, and they were almost like eclairs because they had like the little strip of chocolate in the middle. They were like hard
lemon
lime sweet, hard lime sweet.
Oh yeah.
Chocolate in the middle.
Yeah, because you say citrus and chocolate now, and I go, other than Terry's chocolate orange, nah. But I remember them lime and chocolate. Sounds awful.
Oh, the Darth Vader ice cream was licorice with lemon.
We may have had a different thing.
I think we had a different. I think ours was just chocolate and really chocolate.
Yeah, like a milk and a dark chocolate.
Chocolatey ice cream and then a really, really chocolatey detail on him.
Also, buddy, you don't ever have to apologise for speaking a second language because you're hearing the only language that I can talk. Like, so don't.
And he can't do it very well.
And I'm dyslexic, so I can write quite ably in English, but I can't spell check my own work. So don't worry about it. Yeah, we had like a dark and a milk chocolate Darth Vader ice cream. So we may have had a slightly different thing. But yeah, I am nostalgic for those ice creams.
I found in a supermarket the other day. Do you remember that they're in a different name now? But did you ever have a Zoom lolly from the ice cream man?
Yeah. Were they?
It was like purpley green. It looked like someone had got all of the melted ice cream from the factory and just sort of mushed it together. Because it was this weird, swirly brown, green, purple.
Did it have like a weird, vibrantly coloured alien as the mascot, and it looked like something out of Timmy Mallett's brain?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the perfect description of a Zoom lolly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get versions of them still. Those
Really?
were amazing. Yeah.
I'm frankly amazed that mini milks are still going. Very basic concept, but pretty good.
I have a story about a mini milk that
where'd you put it?
That I genuinely cannot tell you on this show, but I will tell you afterwards.
Is the person in question watching? Who put what in where? Who put a mini milk where? Just give us the orifice and we'll leave it at that.
I won't.
It was the bum. It was the bum.
I told you I'm not telling you the story. If I say that it was the bum, then that would be a lie. If I say that it wasn't the bum, then you would think that I was lying, so it doesn't really matter.
Okay, here's how we get round this. We're going to use the Britney Spears technique. If it was the bum, wear blue headphones. It was the bum, guys. Wiley's got the headphones off. Okay, so it was the V then, or the bum. Hard
But yeah,
to tell.
mini milks are still a thing.
Okay.
Why do you think that it's difficult for them to...
No, it's just because they're such a basic thing. You think they'd get bought out by something that had, like, raisins in it or some shit. I don't know.
Raisins in ice cream, you got rum and raisin, and that's about it.
Yeah. The only reason you got the raisins in there is to, like, offer some alliteration, which helps with the marketing.
It does.
You can't just have a rum ice cream because that's just rum on the rocks, isn't it?
You say that. There's a place down near Cambridge Market, and they have a rum. It might be rum and raisin, but it's a rum ice cream.
Oh yeah.
And if you want, you can have rum and raisin, but if you want the actual rum ice cream, it's like an extra £3.50, and it has a percentage next to it.
Jolly good.
It's like cask aged rum ice cream.
That's amazing.
That you all can get drunk off.
Wow. Cool. Any more for food?
I was going to say the big Yorkshire puddings, but I used to have them when I was younger, and you can still buy them now. So it's not really a nostalgia, it's just that I haven't gone to the shop to buy them.
Yeah.
But they are really good. I love Yorkshire puddings, as we have established.
Oh yeah.
And
the best.
When I was young, and again, they're only sort of like tennis ball size, and then one comes out that fills the entire plate. You put your dinner in the thing that is your dinner. I lost my mind.
Double plate, innit? Amazing. Yeah. If I read out the categories, do you want to pick one? Because I have something for all of these.
If you read out the categories, I'll make sure that I've written all the categories down.
That also helps.
And if I haven't, I'll make some stuff up later.
So we got film, TV, game, music, and books.
Okay, I'm gonna go with books.
Okay.
Because basically, I'm choosing books to go next for the same reason that you chose food now.
Right. Because
reading to the point that I do now is a relatively recent thing.
Yeah.
So less so during lockdown because I've been doing other stuff. But before lockdown, I was reading a Terry Pratchett book, probably every 3 weeks.
Yeah, you were going through them.
And a bunch of manga and stuff as well. And before that, I hadn't read many things. I'd read like Harry Potter, Hunger Games, but when I was younger, I never read books.
Okay.
I had like Funny Bones, you know, the ones where you've learnt to read. Here, have a book that's like 10 pages long and mainly pictures. There was a series called Animorphs.
I remember Animorphs.
Yeah.
Never read them, but I remember them.
The American teens, an alien crashes, gives them the power to turn into animals to fight other evil aliens.
Yeah.
Which sounds well stupid, and I guess it probably was, but I loved the way it was written was in the past tense, and it would always start off, each book was a different character that they'd go through. So it would start off, my name is Jake.
Yeah.
And then it would all be written, we went and did this. This is where we did. I jumped this way. So it was all in the past tense. And then I think it's like the last 5 books, maybe. Because at the beginning they always say, my name's Jake. I can't tell you anything else about myself. But in the final books, like it's like the books caught up with real life.
Right.
Because he was like saying, because they were saying, it then became like a present tense. And then they got discovered, and he was like, my name's Jake Jakeson. I live at number 3 Jake Street. And I really liked how they not completely, but they switched up past tense to present tense, because this is the story finishing. It's their story as and they like are telling it at the end.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, one of the characters dies.
Oh heck.
So, but I think it's their book that they die in. So halfway through the book, halfway through a sentence, halfway through a word, they die, and then the next chapter it's somebody else picking it up and then finding out that the person's died. And it really stayed with me.
Yeah, sounds
and
like it.
In the bottom right-hand corner, I'm remembering so much that I've forgotten. They had it like a little flick book. So there would be the person on the front cover of whatever model they'd got in to look a bit like that character for that book. Slowly going into an animal that they would be like the main one they'd have to be in the book. So, and you would flick it. So you do like a little flip book of them turning into the animal, and you do it backwards and they turn back.
I remember those. Never read them, but I do remember the books, and the covers are quite a memory as well. Quickly, like, I can hear a little bit of bleed from myself occasionally. Am I definitely coming through your headphones?
Speak to me.
So, like, now, can you hear me?
Defo just headphones.
Okay, interesting. I don't know what's causing that. Could just be some weird, stupid thing. So I wasn't a big reader as a kid. I sort of, I never really enjoyed it. And there's like a million books that I got part way through and just could not engage with them and just didn't care. And like now we know dyslexia. But at the time, it's just thick, innit? Just straight up stupid. So I used to listen to books on tape quite a lot. I'll get to those in a second. Like most of like the books I enjoyed were more to do with tie-ins to kind of larger franchises. So like, for example, Lord of the Rings I was really into, but I was mostly into Lord of the Rings because of the films that came out. And what was the other one? I had an audiobook of the first part of Empire Strikes Back on cassette. So it was the first third of the Empire Strikes Back, and I would listen to that quite a lot. I only ever had that one tape, and used to listen to a lot of like classic radio comedies like The Goon Show, Hancock's Half Hour, had Fawlty Towers on cassette as well. You couldn't see the blackface, it was fine. So like, was there blackface in Fawlty Towers or just like the N-word? I can't remember. Because they definitely edited out the N-word if it was that.
I didn't know that either of those were in there.
I think so. There's a whole thing that came out recently. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So, like, in terms of nostalgia, like, obviously I have a lot of good memories of Lord of the Rings, but being a nerd and being into, like, D&D and games and stuff, like, the enjoyment of Lord of the Rings has carried on. It's not something that I look back on as a childhood thing, because it's still part of me being a nerd. Stuff that was specific to childhood, horrible histories and horrible sciences. There was even a horrible geography. Horrible science. I met. It was either the writer or the illustrator for Horrible Sciences, and I will still have somewhere autographed Horrible Science books. So that's quite cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I think I've got some more autographed Terry Pratchett's as well.
You bastard.
Yeah, sorry about that. The only... I think I managed to read Truckers, Diggers and Wings, but then I struggled with, like, the grown-up Terry Pratchett's, and the only reason I tried them was because of the Discworld games. We'll get into Discworld games. That is a separate post-it. I'm going to use books to talk about one more audio book, because I'm cheating. Did you ever read or listen to The Owl Who Was Afraid of the Dark?
Oh my god, yes I did.
Yes, someone, finally.
I'm sorry, but that didn't exist in my head until you just mentioned it, and now I can see the little owl.
The little owl, and the blue and the red and the white, whatever the cover was. Owl That Was Afraid of the Dark was great. It was ostensibly, for the benefit of listeners, it was basically a book about a barn owl who was a baby, and he didn't like being nocturnal because he was afraid of the dark, and also he was a bit crap at flying. So every chapter he would have an interaction with some kind of person or animal who has some somewhat convincing argument for why the night ends so bad after all, if you think about it. So I think there's like, is there like a fox or a badger, and there's a child with a sparkler, and then there's an old woman who's going to die or something.
That feels like the sort of
it's that kind of thing. And then like it's a kid's book, so like spoilers. He's eventually okay with the concept of nighttime, and he goes hunting with his parents. And it's all very it's a great setup for sometimes in life you have to do things you don't want to do, but you know what, you're not a barn owl, so go to work. That's what I took away from that anyway. Another one is Flat Stanley. Do you remember Flat Stanley?
I thought Flat Stanley was... I always got him from the gopher. I thought he was a little fat yellow fella.
Yeah. So like something landed on him to make him flat, but somehow didn't kill him. So he had all sorts of capers involved with fitting through very slim gaps, and that is the entire Flat Stanley franchise. So like he was a painting for a bit, and then he was a letter for a bit. He was a towel as well, and someone folded him the wrong way around, and he got a mouthful of vagina. It was this whole great... That might have been my fanfic. But it was this whole flat related thing.
That sounds weird.
It was weird.
Yeah, no, I never did Flat Stanley.
Did you not?
It
was okay.
Funny Bones.
Funny Bones was good.
With the three skeletons. Was it a dark town? There's a dark street. In the dark street, there's a dark house. In the dark house, there's some dark stairs. And in the dark stairs, there's a dark cellar. In the dark cellar, there's a dark cupboard. In the dark cupboard, some skeletons live. There's a big skeleton, a little skeleton, and a dog skeleton. Woof.
If you read the there's a very rare final book to that series where you find out that you, the reader, murdered the family.
I don't believe that.
You're not?
No, for some reason that doesn't sound like it'd be quite right.
Okay, fair enough. Any more?
But just on a...
Yeah, go on.
Oh, I was just on a off note. I feel like I should give a little shout out to Harry Potter because that did really get me into reading,
Yeah, fair.
and this has led me not only to get to work, also started getting tattoos because of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I can blame my mum got me the first Harry Potter book, so I can now say whenever mum goes, "Oh, you've got a new tattoo, I don't like it," is that enough? No more now. I can say that it's all her fault.
Yeah.
Because she bought me the book.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Your fault.
J.K. Rowling is a dickhead. We don't need to discuss that. That's obvious. However,
But she wasn't necessarily a dickhead when she wrote the books. There's no way to
there's
know.
that.
Same as Graham
Considering
Linehan.
considering that in one of the books, a 16-year-old massive bloke turns into like a 12-year-old girl, 11-year-old girl.
Yeah, but that's magic, innit?
It is magic.
But that little girl didn't menstruate, and that's apparently the problem.
Is that the problem? I've not seen all of the bits.
That's the gist of the problem.
Well, why is that anything to do with her?
It's that thing again of like, let people do the things they want to do. It doesn't affect you. It's not like wearing a mask where you not wearing a mask could actually still kill me even though I'm wearing a mask.
We have masks for sale. We have masks for sale. Go and buy our masks.
If you're watching on Twitch and you scroll down, there's a thing with a t-shirt on, and if you click that, you can see all of our stuff. We have a mask that says Second Wave, y'all. It's very good. There is currently a sale on, although that sale might not be on by the time the podcast goes out. I believe it's 20%, 20% off if you buy 4 masks. I don't know what the maths on that is, but like, do that.
Buy 3 and get 1 for 5%, something like that.
Yeah, what could be. Could be.
I don't know.
Is that a wrap on books?
Yeah, well, I also say that the Faulty Towers thing, whilst there, I just had a little Google whilst we were talking
Just
about
a little
owls.
Google.
Whilst it was used several times,
The N-word, that is.
It wasn't, yeah, and the other racial slurs.
Oh boy.
Those were not. So they were said by a very, very old war man who was sort of lost his mind. So the show was taking the mick out of him, out of his views through that character.
Yeah, okay.
So they were taking the piss out of people who thought like that or spoke like that. Much like, have you seen Blazing Saddles?
I have, yes.
You could say, I mean, that movie uses the N-word lots and lots and lots.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's not a racist movie because it's taking the piss out of it.
Yeah.
It's taking a piss out of that time, out of everyone who would have views.
Yeah. I think for me, the painting with really broad strokes, like obviously as a white dude, I don't feel like this is necessarily my decision. So
that's why I felt bad when I said I don't think the movie's racist. I can't really.
Don't worry, people will take that. Once we get famous, people will take this out of context. But then for that to be a problem, we'll have to be earning income through the podcast. So don't really worry about it. Swings and roundabouts. Yeah, we've got a bit to go. My general shtick with that whole thing is that, like, if you're as a person that makes stuff or a writer or whatever, if you're going to put any sort of language in your project, you have to be prepared with people to not like that language. And that is, I think ultimately it's up to the creators and the publishers to decide 20 years down the line, do we want to pull this from whatever? Do we want to unpublish it because times have changed? Or are we willing to bear the brunt of whatever unpleasantness or rightly, what's the word? Unpleasantness, but rightly so, might come our way. And I guess most people have decided, nah, let's just pull the plug. And that is up to them.
Well, you say that, but there are shows in Disney.
Yeah.
where obviously there used to be little cartoons and stuff from the 40s, from the 50s, racist ones, or what we would deem racist now.
Yes.
And probably were racist then, but people didn't care, or they made them anyway. I don't know.
Yeah.
But instead of pulling these cartoons, and I think it's only like Disneyland and certain places that you can see them, or special cinemas and stuff, they do say, oh, at the beginning of the original Snow White, we showed this little short. We know that this is now inappropriate. We realise that when this was made, this shouldn't have been made. But if we completely ignore it, then that's almost like denying it, and that is worse. So instead of like hiding them away and pushing them under the cupboard, let's go, hey, this existed and it weren't okay. Let's not forget that it existed and it wasn't okay.
But that, to me,
let's not go back there. Let's move on.
With Disney,
but that was sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say, because it's Disney, I'm like automatically I'm biased, and I'm gonna say that they're probably just profiting off of evil shit. But with them, it feels a little bit like that. Feels like you can come across as woke by saying this isn't okay, but you're also profiting by showing them. It's a little bit like cake and eating it too situation. But again, like I don't know what the right answer is, and like I'm just grateful that that isn't my decision. Like whatever level of platform I or we have, I'm just going to use to say, like, if you discover that language you use is offensive to other people, probably stop doing it. It really is that simple. Think about other people. Sometimes things you do that you think are innocuous might affect other people, and if you're not a twat, you'll stop. It's really it's literally that simple.
I think if John Cleese made a new TV show and he used the same lines, then yeah, that's not okay. But do you remember, I think it was last year, maybe the year before, all the talk about the song Baby It's Cold Outside?
Oh yeah, that'll come around again this year because no one's got anything else to talk about, and it'll be a welcome distraction from Corona.
But this doesn't... Okay, so the thing was, because people were just hearing it for now, they thought it was an inappropriate song because it sounds well rapey.
It does sound
to
rapey.
An ear that... I mean, hey, what's in this drink used to mean, isn't this strong?
Yeah.
Like, wow, what's in this? This is great.
I don't think they had Rohypnol
sounds...
available back then. I don't know. I just assume they didn't have it back then.
I don't know. I wasn't around, but you know that it's. But you know that. But, to think that it makes sense now, then you can't. On the flip side, just go, oh well. You know, you can't take that down because it now sounds rapey. However, you cannot ignore the fact that it does sound rapey compared to how it originally sounded 30 years ago or whenever it came out. But that doesn't mean you need to get rid of it. You need to both understand that now it sounds wrong.
Yeah.
Back then, it didn't mean that. And I know we're talking differently about a Christmas song and racism. Those are very different things.
Well.
So whilst you could watch the Fawlty Towers episode, you'd need to realise, before getting all arsey, that they're taking the piss out of someone, even back then, that they considered outdated. So, when did Fawlty Towers come out? Late 80s?
I think so, yeah.
So, at least 30 years ago, they were taking the piss out of this person for having outdated ideas.
Yeah.
It's then, I guess, up to the individual person whether they still find that offensive, or they're like, well, I don't like that they said that, but I get what they're saying. Because they're not saying... They're using an offensive language to take the piss out of people who would use that language.
Yeah.
You know.
I have...
anyway, that was books.
I was going to say, I have 3 points I'd like to make. I'll do them as succinctly as possible. Being as it was John Cleese, I don't necessarily trust that he wasn't just using this old war veteran as a sounding board for stuff he genuinely believes. He said some pretty uncool stuff recently, so there's that. Just a wondering. Thing 2, with specific regard to Baby It's Cold Outside, I did hear that was the language used was actually can be interpreted as female empowerment, because it's all about the woman deciding, nah, I'm gonna stay here and do sexy times with this unmarried dude. And it's not about raping us, it's about consent. I wasn't there when they wrote it, so I truly don't know what the intention was there. And if you interpret that as that, then more power to you, whatever. Thing number 3 is sometimes I had to... DJ is the wrong word, but I had to make like an interval playlist for a Christmas event for old people. And like, I remember that on Spotify, I was going through and I came across that one. And I was like, if I just don't put it in, no one's going to have a conversation about whether or not this song is rapey. If I do put it in, there's a chance there'll be a conversation about this song being inappropriate. So I'm just going to not put it in. And you know what? It was fine. No one missed it. So there's just food for thought. Sometimes you can just not, and it's all good.
Sometimes you can just not.
While we're
there's a few clips of Only Fools and Horses that were taken out even when I was watching them when I was younger.
Yeah.
So when people are saying, well, it was racist, they said this, that, the other. I'm like, no, they didn't. I have the VHS. Oh, well, it was taken out. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Because they worked out it was bad. But then it's like, should it have made it to press? Well, maybe not, but it did. And then they were like, oopsie. I don't know, man. I don't work in film or TV. And
I wasn't alive when either of these shows started happening.
And you know
so
what?
I can't.
If I was in charge of like BBC comedies, there would be a lot of robots and none of them would be racial archetypes. So give me a job. Film, TV, musical, game.
Well, I thought that it was film and TV.
Gotcha. It's
so
not.
I have
doesn't have to be.
Well, I have 2 movies to talk about and kind of a TV thing.
Okay. We can do movies because my movie is super racist.
I've not seen Super Racist. Please tell me.
It's like super bad, but really uncool.
But even worse.
No, my film is Zulu.
With Michael Caine.
With Michael Caine. Sorry, I'm just writing down the time. I'm not stalling for time in order to defend myself.
Now, can I just... Zulu is a very old film. Yeah. It's been on the I've been in the room while it was on the telly, but I was probably... You can't see how small I was. I was probably very early in my life, so I haven't seen it. But as far as my little brain, it's based on true battle.
Yep.
British people invading Africa and the locals not being very happy and killing them all.
Yeah, it's the...
Killing all the Michael Caines.
It's a somewhat fictionalization of the Battle of Rorke's Drift, which was... there was a really huge defeat of the British in South Africa by the indigenous people of Africa, the Zulus. I'm doing that because I don't know if that's the name we gave them. I just don't know enough about the world around me. And following that's a film called Zulu Dawn. And then Zulu is the film about like a little outpost shortly after, which very nearly got completely messed up by the indigenous people. Because the British probably just shouldn't have been there.
Rubbish.
Yeah.
Because we suck.
Zulu is a good film in the sense that, like, when Brexit happened, it was really great to just work out on who on Facebook you wanted to unfriend. Zulu is the equivalent for family dinners. If it's on and a family member is cheering for the British side, you probably don't want to send them a card. Basically. It's not great. I liked the film when I was a kid, because this is like the stupid lamest thing in the world, even as I formulate the sentence in my brain.
Go on.
Games Workshop, wait for it, they brought out a range of figures that were based off of the British forces in that time period, but they were kind of steampunky sci-fi. Like, they all looked like Professor Elemental, basically.
Cool.
So, like, yeah, I love a good uniform occasionally. I don't mind a pith hat. And when they brought that out, they sort of did like a tabletop reenactment of, oh, this is so bad. It's dawning on me now how awful this is. Where the defending British army were space humans, and the attacking Zulu nation were orcs, who had spears and were green coloured. How bad is that? Shit the bed.
It doesn't feel
good. So like nah, it's not great, is it?
No.
Can I take Zulu off the list, because that is the only film I have. I'm just gonna shall we just put a pin in that and never return to it?
Yeah, sure. That sounds like a fine way to do.
What is worth saying is that, like, this is now gonna come across as virtue signaling, but that's fine. As a kid, like, the ultimate takeaway, like, other than the narrative, the dramatization is like very strong, because obviously the story on the face of it is about soldiers like trying to overcome the odds. They don't necessarily want to be there. Half of them are criminals who just like wanted to steal food so they could feed their family, and oh, now we're in Africa, what the hell is this? So like, and the sort of like narrative of, oh, just trying to get through it, but we don't have enough defenses, this is going to be pointless. Oh, why did we bring a child here? Obviously the child died. But like, even as a kid, I couldn't get past the fact of, yeah, but why were we in Africa? Why were we trying to take land? Like, what was the purpose of that? And that, if it wasn't for the movie Zulu, I don't know if I would have become interested in, like, I don't know whether to call it the bad side of colonialism or just to refer to it as colonialism. And this is also not where I thought the stream would go today, but here we are. Let's make the most of it. So if it wasn't for that movie, I might have been a bit later to the party with the whole, oh, actually we're the bad guys spiel. I think someone else needs to talk. Ben, what racially motivated films did you enjoy as a child? Don't say Shaft.
No, I wasn't going to. I've not seen it. These weren't.
That's a good answer.
Well, I suppose. Oh no, I think you've just made.
Have I ruined everyone's day?
Well, I have on the top of this movie list Small Soldiers.
Okay, where were they invading? Was it Argentina?
I really like this film. It was like toys. This company's trying to make really cool, hyper-realistic, awesome toys. And to do so, one guy puts military-grade hardware processing chips into these toys. So they are essentially alive, and there's the Gorgonites, which are the peace-loving, sort of monster forest dwellers. And then there's the army guys that are trying to hunt them down and kill them.
Yes.
All of the army dudes, there's a lot of bulky white dudes in there.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
I don't think they're all called like John Smith. I think there is a little racial diversity in there. But just going from the conversation we had to this, I was like, oh no, please don't say that there's some deep-seated racism in children's movies as well. Not this one, anyway, please. But yeah, that's fun. I really liked that growing up. Because obviously the army people were the bad guys, and the cool, the Gorgonites were awesome.
Yeah.
And they were they were nice. They befriended this kid, and there was Kirsten Dunst in it. That was pretty cool. I was young, didn't quite know how.
David Cross was in it.
Who's David Cross?
As in Bob and David, Arrested Development, David Cross. I just blew myself.
Oh, yeah.
He plays Erwin Wayfair. Is that the main guy? I think that's the main guy. That's
probably,
fun.
maybe.
I just wanted to see who produced it, because I wonder if it's a Weinstein film. It's not.
Come on, stop trying to ruin shit for me. Kirsten Dunst was in it. I was at the age where I wasn't noticing girls, I don't think, when this came out. But
okay.
I very much enjoyed her presence. I didn't know why, but I liked it. Yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was action-packed. It was fun. I thought it was really cool. And then I showed it to a friend a few years ago, and she'd never seen it. And I spent over an hour just going, it gets good, honest. It is a good film. I remember it being a really good film.
If you search...
It wasn't much over it. It was about an hour and a half, and it was just...
I think...
I really like... I feel nostalgic for that, I think, more because I feel nostalgia for how good I thought that movie was. And now rewatching it, it's not as good as I remember. But in my head, it's still great. Sorry, go on. You're about to ruin this for me.
Yeah, sorry. This movie might explain quite a lot of you, because if you search Christy Fimple, yeah, wait for it, which is Kirsten Dunst's character's name in Google image search, most of the images, especially the top 3, are Kirsten Dunst's character being bound and gagged by what look like a bunch of nude mannequins.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about that bit. Yeah.
But
so
you're a sub, so how does that work?
You do not know me very well, my darling. Yeah.
Quite.
The
One of these nude mannequins has a cowboy hat.
The army guys. Oh yeah, no, yeah, the army dudes. Try to make their army bigger. So what they do is they take one of the chips out of one of their dead Barbie dolls, put them through the machine, and then they become these sort of post-apocalyptic. I've never seen or read Tank Girl, but they kind of have that sort of look to them, and they all attack Kirsten Dunst. Yes, fun. I think that yeah.
Well, that's your evening sorted.
What do you mean that explains me? What does that mean that explains a bit about me, Liam? I don't understand. What do you mean by saying that?
I think it just explains why you could like restraining women. That's all I mean.
Wow, I was trying to make you feel awkward, but you've just said that, and that makes me feel very uncomfortable.
And now you feel awkward. That's what you get.
You know other people are listening to this. I don't.
I also know other people that like being restrained. It's fine. Don't be ashamed. Maybe this won't make the finished episode. I don't know.
I really kind of hope it doesn't. Or if that is edited in a way that makes me sound less like a sex pest.
No, you get consent before you bound and gag people. That's sort of the whole point.
Well, yeah, it's polite.
It is polite. It's definitely polite.
It's not fun if you don't get consent. It's crime.
Yeah.
Not a cool crime.
Like smoking.
Like smoking. Oh wow!
Did you have any movies that weren't racially motivated? Because I didn't.
I have, yeah, yeah. I have 2002's Resident Evil.
Fair. Yeah.
I remember when the game came out in 1996, so potentially any time within the 2 years after that, my mate would play Resident Evil games. I could never get used to the fixed camera angles,
Yeah.
so I couldn't play them, but I would go around and watch him play them. But I really enjoyed that. So when there was a Resident Evil movie coming out, I thought this was great. I got it on DVD because I wasn't old enough to see it in the cinema, I don't think. And I watched it on a bright summer's day, and I got my sister to come in and watch it with me because I was too scared.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
And yeah, I just have a very nice memory. I have a good memory of just being able to watch just that beginning bit, going, "Oh, this is gonna be good." And I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the second one, and then they fucked up the entire franchise. Then they kind of fixed it, and then they completely fucked it up again, even to the last movie. The last movie was kind of okay. Like, well, at least this is it. It's the final chapter. Everything's going to close. We can't have another one. And then, like the last sentence is, "But my job's not over yet." And then being monsters around, even though the entire movie was spent destroying all of the monsters and all possibility of more monsters. So I liked it when I was happy.
I think that's universal.
That just turned into me ranting about other movies. I'm sorry. But yeah, I really liked how I felt when I first watched that movie. I can still watch it and enjoy it today, even though I know that there are much better ones.
Good stuff.
I think that was mainly just a rant.
That's okay. That's
It's a
allowed.
nostalgia. I apologize.
TV, music, or game?
Let's go. I only have one TV.
Okay, I've got a few TV, so let's do TV.
So you go through two of your TVs. I'll go through mine, because then if mine's turns out that I'm just ranting when I thought it was nostalgia, it's just me ranting, we can go with that. Oh, actually, no, I've got two. But yes, you
Amazing. Simpsons. Seems like an obvious choice. Simpsons was a really big deal for me and has informed a lot of my sense of humor, and kind of the way I like to tell stories and the way I like stories being told. And the reason it's nostalgia for me rather than something that has carried on is, like, when I got to a teenager, I did sort of stop watching it. I think that's about the point where Simpsons kind of got a bit meh, and also I was doing other things. So it kind of recently with Disney Plus and that, I have been rewatching Simpsons and feeling a lot of nostalgia, as well as realizing, oh, there are so many levels of humor that we just didn't even notice as kids at the time. So Simpsons is one, a pretty big one. Did you watch Simpsons as a kid?
Yeah, it was sort of not like, we didn't have Sky.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to watch Simpsons, it was weekdays, Channel 4, 6 o'clock. That was it.
Yeah.
So I watched them. It would be after school, be like news round or whatever was on. Mum would want to watch some news, and then Simpsons. Mum would watch the headlines, then we'd watch the Simpsons. I don't know if I would necessarily feel nostalgia for it, because it's still going, and the quality of some seasons and episodes. I know some people now hate it. Some people go, oh, the first 4 seasons or whatever, and now everything's bad. It's been going, what, 26 years?
Quite a
More?
while. Yeah.
It's been going on a long time. So yeah, I used to watch them. I enjoyed watching them as a child. I don't make the time to watch them every day now.
Yeah.
Sorry if I just
No, not at all. No, I agree with you completely.
I think it's difficult to go, oh, yes, I feel nostalgia for this. Did you watch it? No.
Nah.
Yeah, it was all right.
That's okay. Nostalgia is the point of it is that it's unique to individuals rather than not. What was one of yours then?
So now these I'm going quite far back into childhood now. Saturday morning television live.
Yeah.
SMTV live with Ant and Dec and Cat Dealey.
Oh yeah.
It was like, so it was a show. It's 3 hours long, I think. And then they'd have cartoons, they'd have games, they'd have audience, they'd sometimes have celebrity guests. Which wasn't, it felt like it was the biggest one that I'd seen.
Yeah.
There was obviously CBBS and CBBC and all that stuff, which was that. But this felt much more anarchic and like bigger budget. And they would take the piss out of things. So because obviously Friends was very big at the time, they would have like a 5-minute short every week called Chums, which was just them in a flat and trying to take the piss out of Friends.
Yeah.
There was a running joke of Dec and Cat were together, but they never got to kiss because the doorbell always went and there was a celebrity. They'd also, I think they did Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. They would do it just so daft, and like at certain points they'd say, okay kids, remember, if you are going to send in your parents' credit cards details, make sure that the expiration date hasn't passed because it's a waste of everybody's time. Really stupid. It's funny for a kid and it's funny for an adult. Looking back, they were probably on cocaine.
Oh yeah.
There were sexy jokes, there were just dirty things, there was so much stuff, but it wasn't weird. There were jokes that Ant had, like Lorraine Kelly was coming over to the flat in Chums, and it was like, oh, I'd better go and tidy up. You don't want to see, I'll tidy my room up. We don't want Lorraine seeing bras and knickers everywhere.
Nah.
You not been tidying Cat's room up? And you go, yes. And that was just stupid. It wasn't taking the piss out of anyone. It wasn't me. It was stupid, weird, but almost wholesome.
Yeah.
I guess they would have, when Pokemon was on, instead of doing the Chums thing, they would have poker battles where they would try to put voices on and they would dress as the characters from Pokemon, and they'd have really weird Pokemon that would happen. So they'd have TV video program where they would try to set up it's like, oh, you have to try and set up the VCR, and they just shout and chat bollocks to each other. Dec would be Misty, and at some point always get punched or fall over and scream that she would never have kids anymore. It was just so who thought up half of this.
Yeah.
There was like, I had a VHS tape of the highlights of SMTV Live, and on one of them there was a poker battle, and I think you can still find this on YouTube. If it is, I'll find it, send it to you, we can put it in the show notes.
Yes, please.
Where it's like the end of the battle, and it's Gary versus Misty. He's like, I will defeat you, Misty, by using the ultimate girly Pokemon. I choose Brian. And there's a big thing like, Brian? Who's Brian? That's ridiculous. And they go, wait, it's not him, is it? It can't be. And he just goes, yes, come on, guys. And I think it's Boyzone come out. Is it Boyzone? I think it's Boyzone. And they're singing, and one of the guys is Brian, and Dec dressed as Misty from Pokemon, losing his absolute shit, screaming, telling him that he loves him, while this poor bloke is trying to sing, or at least look like he's singing, but he's just slowly curling up behind his mates tears coming down his eyes. Deck rips, sorry, that was my mic, rips his shirt open to reveal a big picture of Brian's face. And it's just so clearly this was scripted, but almost no one seemed to know what the other person was about to do.
Okay. That's fun.
They clearly had a small format, but then people would just do shit.
Yeah.
Or they would have stuff play. It was Google or YouTube SMTV Live best bits, and there's some real gold on there. So if you can't tell, I very much enjoyed that show.
That has come across through your enthusiastic storytelling. Cool.
But yeah, it was great, and I think that sort of led on to Dick and Dom in the Bungalow.
I was going to say, was that Ant and Dec's kind of first thing?
It was, apart from when they were PJ and Duncan in Biker Grove, I think they were in.
Right.
That's how they did it. But their first sort of Ant and Dec thing, presenting, I think that was them. And yeah, it went on to Dick and Dom in the Bungalow, which was great. It went on, I think it inspired Ministry of Mayhem, which was sort of okay to watch. It wasn't as good as SMTV, but now you grow up and you look back and you go, wow, that was not okay. It was kind of racist, kind of ableist, pretty damn sexist, and not in sort of like a boobs or not in like a Carry-On film sort of way.
Right.
Or maybe a little bit too much like a Carry-On film way, but it was kids' TV.
Yeah.
They'd have Holly Willoughby in a very small maid's outfit, pushing a trolley of cream pies.
Lovely.
Which, you know, as a coming-of-age boy, that's great until you realise, you sort of take back and go, oh, that's objectification, and that's...
No, it's bueno.
And they had an Asian character called Mr. Lee. All he would do is stand there doing this, going, Lee, Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee. They would have Ramit Ray, who was a dwarf that they would make run into doors to see if he could get if it was a real door or if it was a bit of paper.
Wonderful.
SMTV didn't do that. It was, or if it did, I was too young and I'm happy. Yeah, SMTV good. Mystery of Mayhem.
I've got one that I had no business watching.
Go on.
Happy Days. I used to watch Happy Days. I don't know what channel it was on. I don't know why I thought this is appealing to me as a child, but I used to watch Happy Days. It's pretty good. I wanted to be the Fonz, and
Channel
I think
4 was Happy Days.
Could have been Channel 4, and it was obviously from the 50s or the 60s or whatever, and this was the early 2000s. I wanted to be the Fonz. I realise now that was the point in the Fonz. Yeah, and then the guy that played Chachi went on to be a Trump supporter. He had a role in Arrested Development before Trump was arrested, called Bob Loblaw. He had a law blog. He was a lawyer, and I named my first D&D character Bob Loblaw. And then when I realised that he was a Trump supporter, I tried to get my character killed, and the DM wouldn't let me. It was really annoying. Happy Days.
I was gonna say, tell me some more stuff about Happy Days, because I never really watched it. I know one thing about Happy Days.
Yeah.
Tell me more things.
I'm struggling to remember lots, but the gist of it was teenage shenanigans in a pretty tame, pretty wholesome 50s, 60s American nuclear family environment. I think the parents and then 2 kids, and I think Fonz was like the archetypal kind of not a greaser, but like he was a biker, so he had a leather jacket. If things would break, he'd punch them and then they'd work.
You won't go, hey.
And he liked his bike and his hair more than anything. And I think he lived above the garage in like the family's house. And
that's a bit creepy.
Is that they had like a Fonz annex. I think the daughter got married to a character called Chachi, who was Bob Loblaw. That's about all I really remember, and a lot of the drama was around, the sock hop isn't going to happen because we've run out of socks or some shit. And then Fonz was like, I'm wearing 3 pairs. And he pulls them out of his pants or whatever. And I remember there was one where some guy, like, got hit on the head, or he accidentally got, like, rehypnoled or something, and, like, did the most raunchy thing, which was blow a raspberry on some girl's stomach, and he went to prison for rape. I'm misremembering some of it, but that was the gist of it. And like just the very fact that this woman had a midriff seemed to be a point of contention. I need to watch some Happy Days. I just put it down because I remembered watching it and thought that was weird.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
The one thing I know about Happy Days is the jumping the shark. That's where the phrase jumping the shark comes from.
Yeah. Fonz, for some reason, is set the challenge to jump over a shark pit. And he doesn't surf, and everyone's like, why don't you surf? You're the Fonz. So then he has to learn to surf, and he does it. And it's like supposed to be character development, because you see Fonzie as like this fearless kind of character, and he's not. He's afraid of sharks. Pussy. Yeah, Happy Days.
That's led to the phrase jumping the shark, because it was thought that they were running out of ideas. So they just like have him jump over a shark.
Yeah.
So now whenever a show does something weird or drastic like that, it's known as jumping the shark because of Happy Days.
That makes sense.
There's the show 2 Pints of Lager and a Packet of Crisps.
Yeah.
So they genuinely do a live episode, which they did very well. But they genuinely had that character dying whilst trying to jump a shark.
Right.
Because they knew that the show was either going to be okay or it's going to completely flop, because they didn't have the full cast anymore.
Right, yeah.
Little references.
Interesting. What was your next TV one? It's possible you're Frozen. Or maybe Frozen is a film you feel nostalgic about. No, you're back. It's okay.
Yay!
What was your other two?
That all happened really quickly. You froze and nothing happened.
From my perspective, it was you that froze.
Nah.
That's Zoom trying to catch up with itself. What was your other TV one, buddy?
See, now this is something that's so far on the very edge of memory. Do you remember Zig and Zag?
Zig and Zag.
They were like 2 fuzzy puppets.
They had an ice cream, and when we were talking about ice cream earlier, I think now it was the Zig and Zag ice cream that I'm remembering.
That's well, you remember Zig and Zag then?
Yeah.
Sort of weird.
Not vividly. Things. They were just weird, and they were aliens, and they made absurd noises, and that was all you really needed from a kids show back then.
Yeah, I have this memory of when they had a little series or something where they had to. I think they had like a time machine, and it blew up, and a part of the time machine went into each different part of history. They'd go, and like they'd be in like Saxon village and have to find the cog so they can put their time machine back there and get
But
home.
How did they get there without the time machine working?
I think they were in the time machine and it blew up or something like that. I said it's on the very edge of my memory.
Fair.
I remember watching one episode of that and really, really liking it. But then I don't think I ever saw another episode.
Okay.
So I really want, there's like a hunger to see all of them, but I never did.
Cool. My last one for TV is Nightmare. I've definitely spoken about Nightmare before. I've definitely told you about it. It was a kid game show where it was like a medieval fantasy good time adventure, and what would happen is a team of, I think, 4 of you, so 3 people would sit on a bench, and then the dungeoneer would have like a helmet put on them that they couldn't see out of, and they'd go through a room, and like it's a big chroma key stage, so like they're projected onto a screen where the children can see the dungeoneer in a room with like a wall that talks, or a giant spider over there, or a wishing well or something, and they tell the dungeoneer how to interact with the environment, and then go through doors, and there's tasks, and there's puzzles, and there's characters.
Yeah.
It's really fun, and if you get a chance, whenever in 2022, when there are comedy events again, if you get a chance to see Nightmare live, do it. It is such a laugh, even if you don't know what is going on. Because, yeah, they've somehow managed to franchise a live show out of Nightmare where I think they still blindfold one person, and then a panel, usually like in like reasonably low level. I say low level celebrities, I mean like geeky YouTubers and stuff. I think Ashens, for example, I think he was on one of the early panels. They will try and guide the dungeoneer, who's an audience member, through different tasks. And of course it's funny because they can't see the things that the audience sees, and the fact that it's done live is really fun. And it's a little bit shoddy in places, but like that's sort of the humor of it. And the chap who we saw a couple of years ago presenting it was really funny. I can't remember his name. So yes, Nightmare live. Nightmare spelt with a K, as in knights in shining armor. Nightmare.
Nightmare.
Really good. And the TV show like properly gets me in the nostalgia bone. And Traegard, the character that was like the presenter, looks a lot like my dad. Yeah. Nightmare.
That's sort of like there were a few shows like that, like sort of similar to Crystal Maze. I think there's Raven was one of the ones. Jungle Run.
Raven was essentially like the early 2000s attempt at making Nightmare, but I don't think the kids were blindfolded. But yes,
I think they had different bits.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
And it was outdoors rather than green screen, because I think Nightmare literally had a sound stage painted green, and that was it.
Do you remember Terror Towers?
Oh, that name sounds really familiar.
They had to go up like each level of the tower to get to the top.
That sounds
and
right.
You'd have to go through like cobwebs, which were the rope things to get stuff on the time limit. Yeah, I used to like those shows. Yes, I still do. I still watch Takeshi's Castle sometimes if it's on.
Yeah.
But Craig Charles, I saw one and it was just two celebrities.
No, it needs to be Craig Charles. It absolutely needs to be Craig Charles. Otherwise, what's the point?
Jonathan Ross did some for a bit.
Oh no, just Craig Charles.
I haven't seen them, but I have seen one where we've got like little face cam in the corner of two celebrities talking about it. And
Don't need the face cam. Don't need the face cam. Just need Craig Charles.
Don't need the face cam. Don't need two celebrities.
I need Craig Charles and the same 5 lines of dialogue he had every day. And I want no variation from that.
I'd be okay with Graham Norton.
Yeah.
But not like Graham Norton. We're talking Eurovision Graham Norton.
Yeah, halfway through Eurovision when he's already drunk.
Drunk, sassy Graham Norton just going,
Yeah.
I'd watch that.
Good stuff. We have music and game left.
We do. I have not got a full category for either of these.
Okay.
I think the issues that I've had with a couple of these is that music you can still sort of listen to. I've not stopped listening to a certain type of music.
Is there anything that like because the two of these bits of music are things that either my dad or my brother would listen to. So they were just around when I was a kid. So like I don't really listen to them now because they were. Well, if I do listen to them now, I associate it with memories from childhood because that's what was around then. Well, we're talking about music now, so I'm writing that one down.
Sure.
Do you have any you want to share for that, or?
The 10th anniversary Les Mis soundtrack.
Specific. Do go on.
Yeah. So I was 16, 17, and I was in a production of Les Miserables, or Les Miserables, or Les Mis, or that French one.
Oh yeah.
I played Monsieur Thénardier, the innkeeper and General Baden. And it was, there was just something about the show that everyone in it really fucking worked.
Okay.
At it. Like I was in, I must have been 17, so I think it was in sixth form. So sometimes we had free periods. I didn't live too far away. Me and another couple of cast members, lunch breaks, free periods, we'd go at mine, we'd watch as much of the DVD of the 10th anniversary show as we could, even if it was just the songs that we were in, the songs that we would sing, or the whole lot. So, and then we would go and we did more performances of that than anything else. We did matinee performances, which we hadn't ever done before with that group. I remember finishing the first show and getting annoyed because people were standing. I was like, Jesus Christ, we've not even finished the curtain call. Why are they standing up to leave? They weren't. They were standing up to applaud. First time that ever happened for me. And it happened to every single show that we did.
Nice.
That was
special.
That's not something you expect to ever really happen.
No.
And for it to happen every single show, damn.
Yeah.
We went to go and see it at the West End. We had an after party for it where we would sing songs, me and my mates Jason Phillips. Jason listens. Woo!
Hi, Jason.
And, Elliot Rocco Trenuth, now Pencil Bandit. Go check him out. He's. We rewrote the words to One Day More to specifically talk about our show. So, like how some people hadn't acted, it was fun. So now, whenever I hear those, I think possibly One Day More is probably the main one. Whenever I hear that, and it's the 10th anniversary one, because that's the one that we listened to, that's the one we we tried to, replicate as much whilst still keeping it as us as possible. Yeah, that one does squirtingly bring back memories of almost 15 years ago. 13, 14 years ago now. And it was also the only time I've ever sung a soprano on stage. At that time, I could hit soprano. No, I think it was alto soprano. I could hit that, and for the last note of One Day More reprise at the very end, I decided to do it because I could. I cannot do that anymore.
Yeah, that'll happen.
As over a decade of drinking and smoking have really ruined my my feminine vocal cords.
Damn.
Yeah, that's the most important, and even just talking about it really makes you really go back to it.
Yeah.
Sitting in rehearsals, the guy that we had playing the priest was just a very quiet bloke, really thin, very sort of, he was there, but you wouldn't really see him very often, didn't have much to say. And in rehearsals, he stepped up, and the voice that came out of him, people were sort of chatting or reading books or going over their lines. And within the first 3 words, the first line, everyone had stopped what they were doing. Everyone was looking at him going, where the hell did this come from? And I hate that I cannot remember his name off the top of my head. Otherwise, I'd give him a shout out. Yeah, that's my big old nostalgia. Big old music nostalgia.
Cool.
You are a much more musical person than I am, so I'm guessing that you've got a good selection.
So
if not a lot, a varied thing. Sorry.
Yeah, maybe. So when I was a kid, I wasn't really into music at all. Like, my parents tried to get me to play violin. Didn't like playing violin because it hurts your fingers. I mean, now as a 30-year-old, I get that it's basically supposed to, but meh. So my dad was really into kind of folk music, so he'd play a lot of folk music, and I think because of that, my brother was into folk music as well. So we used to have like all kinds of like traditional English, Irish, Welsh, Scottish folk music. Trying to think of a few examples. We used to have Billy Connolly's music playing quite a lot. Crofters, who I think were a Cambridge-based thing. Planxty Irwin. The Levellers, if we're feeling saucy. I still like the Levellers now. One dude sticks in my head called Jake Thackeray. Jake Thackeray wrote funny, silly music, but I didn't think it was funny or silly at the time. I just didn't really get it, but now I do, and I like listening to it because it's kind of jaunty, sort of. It feels like folk music, but the chords are sort of more like not quite jazzy, maybe slightly bossa nova-y. I don't know, hard to put a pin in, but like he's really fun. Jake Thackeray. There's one song. Can't remember what it's called, but it's basically about him getting so drunk that he sees a naked statue of a lady turn into a real naked lady, and that's the song. So he's a lot. Jake Thackeray. My brother used to play a lot of Led Zeppelin, and he was quite protective about the music that he liked, because I guess like as an older sibling, like your younger brother steals everything, or at least that's your view on the world, which
that's
is
my
fair.
music, get away.
Yeah, exactly. So like whenever he was like away or whatever, I'd try and like sneak his CDs of Led Zeppelin and try to like copy them onto cassette, which I did. So Led Zeppelin sort of makes me feel quite nostalgic in that way. I don't really listen to Led Zeppelin since learning about the whole Jimmy Page trying to marry a 14-year-old situation. That's put me off them somewhat. But they still sort of do make me feel nostalgic in that way. The other one, which is a bit sillier, this was a little bit later, but the first CD... Oh, hang on, no, there's an extra one I can add. The first CD that I chose to buy, that I bought for myself, was the Shrek soundtrack. So, like, that'll get me feeling all nostalgic. But the reason I bought the Shrek soundtrack was because it had a cover of I'm a Believer, and the Monkees were one of the first bands that I liked as a kid, and that was unique to me. It wasn't something I'd stolen off my brother, essentially. And I think that came about because he was really into the Beatles, and obviously I wasn't allowed to be into the Beatles. So my parents were like, well, why don't you listen to the knockoff American version of the Beatles? They're called the Monkees. And they are exactly a knockoff Beatles, except they tried to make a TV show out of them with mixed results. But I really like the Monkees. They have got some really good songs, especially when they decided to write music rather than just mime the music they were given. So yeah, and there was a TV show that I quite liked as well. Maybe that's why I got into Happy Days. I don't know. So there you go. There's a whole big collection of crap. Do with that information what you will.
I will I'm going to take your Shrek and Monkeys reference and up you one.
Please do.
Shrek 2
Mm-hmm.
has the greatest cover of I Need a Hero that has ever been done.
Yeah, fair.
Because it is.
Yeah.
Jennifer Saunders blasted out as the fairy godmother.
Mm-hmm.
The little Italian-y bit, not Italian, sorry, Spanish bit where Puss in Boots is going to fight off the guys. It's you got the video and he's riding donkey and it's great. I'm a Believer is also one of my enjoyable Shrek moments. And a number of years ago, when I spent quite a lot of time in Ibiza, we sort of adopted that as our party song. We'd listen to that when we were getting ready to go out. That would just be the little party song that we had. We found the one rock bar in Ibiza. And we went there most evenings, and they had a live band that we would always say, "Play I'm a Believer." So we don't know that one. Shut up and stop asking. We had to come back. We went out again about 2 weeks later, maybe a week later. We went back to the bar. And the band's just sort of finishing a song as we come in. And they see us, point at us, and say something along the lines of, "Right, this is your fault," or "Come over here," or something. And they learned to play "I'm a Believer" because we'd asked them so many times.
Do you mean
that's...
I'm a Believer or I'm a hero? I need a hero.
Oh no, they learned to play "I'm a Believer."
Wow.
That was our party song.
Cool.
For those few months that we spent in Ibiza.
That's fun.
Yeah, they were cool. They were cool guys.
Good stuff. Any more for music, or shall we move on to game? I imagine do you have some for game? I imagine you will.
I've
or do you still play the games that you're nostalgic about?
I've written down for music. This isn't really anything to do with music apart from, well, what you'll see. At school discos when we were very, very young, sort of the school discos that would be at like 5 o'clock in the evening and everyone home by 6 because you're a child. Sometimes I think in primary school you'd have little party bags to take home with you. There might be some sweets and a party popper or something in there. And a number of times, and it seemed that my mum was in charge of these party bags, and I thought that was magic. Because what do you do these?
Somebody makes these? Yeah, I thought they grew on
they were just things.
They just grew on the tree.
That table just appears and they're there.
Yeah.
But in amongst the little things were cassette tapes. And the 2 cassette tapes that I remember being in the party bags was the Toy Story soundtrack.
Okay.
And the Lion King soundtrack.
Fair enough.
This has very little to do with the music category, apart from that it's cassette tapes of old movies that I had when I was a child. So that feels sort
That's fun. I like that.
There was just such a sort of mystery.
Cassette tapes in a party bag sounds mad. I love that.
And I think at the time you would also use cassettes to record songs off of the radio.
Yeah.
So that added to the weirdness because it was a radio that there weren't cassette tapes. Why would there be cassette tapes with songs on them that weren't from the radio? They're from films.
Yeah, someone's done this for you.
Films. These aren't songs. And then they've got the bit of. It just struck me as the most unbelievable thing as a child.
Yeah.
And it was only whilst writing my list for this episode did I remember about them.
Wow, that's cool.
So yeah, sort of an honourable mention for Disney cassettes.
Good stuff.
Yes, I have 2 things for games.
Did you?
Headbutted my laptop.
Did you have consoles as a kid or PC?
We had a PC, but I would never say that we used it really for gaming.
Okay.
We played Commander Keen.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
That's how I learned to play Solitaire.
Yeah.
That's how no one ever learned how to play Minesweeper.
What is
no
it?
one does.
What is that game? Don't get it.
And then there was like the pinball thing.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
maybe Tetris.
Those are all very familiar to me as well.
Yeah, that was never for gaming. Those were games that were on there.
Yeah, yeah.
The first console I had would have been the Super Nintendo.
Okay. So
There's the SNES.
for context, most of my gaming is and still is PC based. I got a PlayStation 1 when I was like in school, so it's not really nostalgic for me. I am nostalgic about the SNES as well. I didn't have one, but a mate had one, and whenever he went on holiday, I got to borrow it. And now I own the HDMI SNES, because everything's coming up me. Yeah. So go on. What have you got?
Yeah, I've only got two.
Mm-hmm.
One's not surprising. Well, now after there were Tamagotchi,
Yes,
there were Digimon,
correct.
and I don't think that I've ever, certainly not before, and I don't think since, had loved something quite like that.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Pokemon Go now. I'm sure you can still get a Tamagotchi, but I had a neon yellow. I'm holding my fingers up like this. They were probably smaller. Little keychain with 2 buttons and a reset button and a tiny screen with little pixels on. And if you'd have to clean up after it, you'd have to feed it. Depending on how well you looked after it, it would change into different things that would then change into other different things. So some you didn't, if you didn't clean up its poo for a week, it would turn into this one thing. If you fed it lots, it would turn into another thing. And there were so many different ways that's why there was the reset button, that you had to get a pin to press in case you messed up and didn't get what you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember being in the back garden of my mum's house, because you could press them together and you could fight. But you always had to, for some reason, you had to make sure that you were at eye level so you could push them together, so you made sure you'd do it. And then as soon as it connected, you would turn away and walk off. Not that you could possibly cheat by seeing someone else's screen, but you have to go to the other end of the garden.
Yeah, instinctively.
And I remember I was about to get like one of the hardest ones. I was one way away to do this battle, and I lost, and that meant I got the rubbish one instead of the best one. And I would carry it around. I think I lost it on a turkey farm when we were looking, when Mum was picking out the chicken or whatever we were going to have for Christmas that year.
Right.
And I don't think you can get them anymore. They did have bigger ones, but it was the original that I loved, that little thing. You got Pokemon Go now. You've got handheld consoles all over everywhere. But there was just something about having it in your pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Play it at break time. That was just like the perfect little bit of childhood for me. Was having one of those little stupid cubes.
Yeah. Cool. So I used to get a lot of like demo CDs for some reason. So we used to play a lot of games that were like the first 2 levels of actual games. So I think we found Duke Nukem that way, Chips Challenge, Commander Keen, all that good stuff. Dig Dug, that was a good one. Joust. Duke Nukem we ended up playing we got the full version and ended up playing that quite a lot. That's how I found Warcraft 2, and then retroactively played Warcraft 1 and accidentally got really into Warcraft over the years. I remember getting a demo for Dungeon Keeper and then I played the crap out of Dungeon Keeper 2, and for some reason, like, one of the only CDs we had was ABBA's Greatest Hits, and I didn't listen to ABBA's Greatest Hits unless I was playing Dungeon Keeper 2, and that's why that's on the gaming list and not the music list. So games that really stuck with me, Warcraft 2 stuck with me a lot. I played the crap out of that because we couldn't get the expansion to work for years. So this was back in the day when, like, you couldn't just buy a game. You had to check that the game would run on your spec PC. And, like, that isn't a problem you have if you're got a console, because you just make sure it's the right console and it'll work. But with PCs, you've got to make sure that you've got the actual right setup, otherwise the game just won't work. So for some reason, Warcraft 2 would work, but the expansion to Warcraft 2 wouldn't. So, like, that made it a really big deal in my head. So, like, when I could play it, eventually, like, probably a year later, it was, like, the coolest thing in the world. So that got played to death. Age of Empires 2 was a big deal.
Of course.
What else did I play? There was a game called Zeus Poseidon. I think I live streamed that for Let's Play like a couple of years ago. That was like a sort of cartoony build 'em up, somewhere between kind of like Age of Empires, but like military wasn't really supposed to be an aspect of it. It was just about like resource management and stuff, and it was super cartoony and stuff, and it was based in ancient Greek, so it was cool to me. The Discworld games were a big deal. Did you play the Discworld games?
The point and click
With Eric Idle as Rincewind.
voice with Eric Idle. Yeah,
They were
I
very
think
cool.
I only played one of them, and I didn't quite understand it, so I never got past the bit with the wooden leg.
Yeah.
I think you had to pretend that you were a corpse, but I never got past that bit.
Yeah, I remember that bit. That was tricky. I don't think I ever finished it. No, I think maybe I finished that one, because eventually when we got the internet, I could look up cheats. There was a second Discworld game, and Discworld Noir, and I never finished them. I think mostly because they were actually my brothers, and he couldn't know that I was playing them. I stole his version of StarCraft for several years. That was good. Which is Warcraft, but in space. Maybe you worked that out. Yeah. Lots of games. Maybe that's why I'm a nerd. Don't know. And if I had to choose, like, I think Warcraft had like a big effect, because then obviously played World of Warcraft down the line, which was like took up a lot of my life. And Discworld, like, just the whole Discworld franchise is really cool. And like, I know that the first Discworld game certainly wasn't considered canon because Rincewind's hat wasn't pointy enough, but like, it's got Eric Idle voicing it. Who cares? It's all good.
Who cares?
Yeah.
I could forgive David Jason playing Rincewind in the Hogfather.
Oh, he was good.
Colour of Magic.
Yeah.
He's also old and fat and short, whereas Rincewind's meant to be tall and thin and young, but it worked. So.
Oh, what was the other crap? I just thought of another one.
Monkey Island.
Monkey Island, thank you. That thing I said out loud. That was also great. All three of the Monkey Islands. We played through all of them recently, me and Laura. That was a lot of fun.
Is it because you look a bit like Guy Rush Fleetwood? Yeah,
I mean, I remember that. I remember whoever it was that told me that. It was AD of the British IBM. I can't remember if we had him on The Conversation Hat or if he was on one of the early Star Panda podcasts. Do you remember someone in the band telling me that I look like Guybrush Threepwood?
I think he was not off the top of my head.
Simon Pettit tells me that was... Yeah, okay, there we go. So
from me,
Ben, you are all broken.
Just saying.
Can't hear a word you're saying. It's all gone wrong. But everyone can see what Simon Petty was saying on screen. I'm just going to entertain the audience while Ben is breaking up. Are you back or are you not back?
I can't see what he's saying on screen because you keep going all glitchy, so I've
That's interesting.
Everything.
Oh, you've gone again. I mean, it's going to be you that's going glitchy rather than me, because it's my end of the conversation that's being recorded. So,
and from my end of the conversation that's being recorded, it's on my laptop. You're just being all rubbish and
yeah,
glitchy.
But mine is the video version. You're just recording your version of your audio.
You're being rubbish and glitchy. Yeah, but
I can also just turn your audio down if I really wanted to. The gist of what is going on in the chat is, number one, Cy Pettit was saying David Jason was great, but Eric Idle embodies the voice of Rincewind better. I agree with that. And it was Stab Panda Presents that AD from British IBM said, I look like Guybrush Threepwood. He was there. Fine. I agree. MK Tucson on YouTube says, speaking of point and click games, Day of the Tentacle. Yes. I tried replaying that recently. Hard. I couldn't get out of I think I got stuck quite early on. I can't remember what point I got to. Day of the Tentacle was dope.
Yes, I remember you telling me about Day of the Tentacle.
There's a lot of games that like I've tried to replay recently, and I'm like, I don't know how I ever managed to finish this game as a kid, because this is hard. And I was objectively more stupid as a child. I had less things to worry about, but I was definitely stupider.
Well, at least you're open about that.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm fine with that. Anything that isn't something I have said in, like, the last week is stupid. Because we're always learning. I think we probably need to wrap up there because...
Hey, I have one more game.
Do you have one more? I'm so sorry. I thought you'd done all yours. No,
I've got one more game, but to be honest, I'm glad that you said that we were about to wrap up because I was going to say this very quickly.
Good.
And it's just because I wanted to have the last word and then wrap up as well. Has to be a mention for the original Pokemon games.
Fair.
Red and Blue. Again, this is something that I have such a clear memory of. It was 1996. So I had saved up £80, which for a 6-year-old, that's enough to buy like a house. That's unheard of.
Mad dollar.
And when I say I saved it up, it was probably around my birthday or something, and people had given me 10 quid here, 20 quid there. But still, an amazing amount of money for a 6-year-old to have. And I remember I went into Woolworths with my dad, and I picked up my purple Game Boy Color, because of course you want the purple one.
Yeah.
Because in the adverts, and purple's the best color. And I picked it up, and I was so happy that I had this, and then I could play Pokemon. And then I realised that I didn't have the £25 to buy the Pokemon game.
Yep, just enough for the Game Boy.
And my world collapsed.
Yeah.
All I remember is just tears, and that was it. There was no more world. Everything had finished because of this. My dad bought me Pokemon Blue, I think it was. Probably because he didn't want to have to deal with that child.
Yeah, that's fair. Your dad's a very pragmatic guy.
25 quid is nothing to stop that child from acting the way it is.
Yeah.
And I remember I'd been talking to my friend who had played it, and just the idea of it in my head was quite different to the game that it actually was, but there was still enough sort of magic that it worked and it came together, and you'd have to sit there and grind away so you could level up, so you could get to the next gym, and you had no idea where you were going or what was going on. People were saying that Mew was about, and there were all these rumors, because again, there wasn't much internet at that time.
Yep, couldn't fact check.
So it was all playground hearsay.
Isn't it funny how the more internet and the more free access to information we have, the more like hideous bullshit lies there are? It's weird how that works, isn't it? When you can just Google anything and get an answer pretty quickly. What about that?
But yeah,
I never got into the Pokemon games. Again, I think like I wasn't into Game Boys. I was just PC. That's just all I really had access to. So I think my parents had the attitude of like, well, you don't want to get something that's dedicated to gaming because you'll waste your life. So we'll have a PC, but like that's used for homework or whatever. And it's like, oh yeah, because all the teachers are like, go do your homework on your computer. We don't use pens and papers anymore because it's 2001. I don't know. Ben has frozen again, so I'm going to start wrapping up. But he's going to say that I have frozen, but he won't be able to prove that.
I'm not going to say that you've frozen, even though I'm not going to try and even prove it. But yeah, the laptop, use them for homework.
No. We don't even use them for homework now, and we could.
Yeah.
That was the Conversation Hat podcast. This was a live streamed recording. We did our best. We're only an hour late. I think we did really well, personally. These recordings happen every month on Twitch and YouTube, and I've also embedded a player on conversationhat.com just for the sake of anyone who thinks that that's where live streams are. We do these once a month, so if you're watching the podcast being recorded right now and the words that are coming out of my face are happening live in front of you, you have to wait a month for the next one. If you're listening to this on the podcast, good for you. You only have to wait 3 weeks for the next broadcast. Look at that. We have merch. Teespring. Is it Teespring? I'm just going to check the URL while Ben's frozen again. He's back. Where's it gone? Where's it gone? Has to use my internet to check. It's this whole big thing, but just look for Conversation Hat on TeePublic. There'll be links. If you're watching on Twitch, you can scroll down and press the link. If you're on YouTube, go to conversationhat.com and just find it, you idiot. Podcast, live stream, podcast. You got to get those tags in at the end of the show, otherwise there's no point.
Oh, here's a little sneaky little twist that I wanted to throw in.
Give us a sneaky twist.
On Let's Play, we have played Pokemon Snap.
Oh, yeah.
On the N64 that's still at your house. They have announced that a new one is going to come out.
Bloody hell.
At some point, we will, I've not given Liam any choice here, we will play new Pokemon Snap.
All right.
Go subscribe to other channels where that might be on for when it is.
If you find Let's Play on Twitch and or YouTube, that is the place where that will happen whenever that happens. Magical. Shall we hit stop on the audio recording and then say goodbye to the wonderful pod babies who are watching us live?
Let's do that before someone freezes and fucks up again.
I have hit stop.
Goodbye. We love you, pod babies. Babies.
If you don't want pod babies, you should have used a pod condom.
A pondom,
if you will. Simon's telling me to buy a Switch. Okay, I'm just going to pull some money out of my ass and buy a Switch.
Patreon.com/conversation hat and donate.
If I get
300 quid so we can.
I'll do it. I'll get a Switch if we get 50 quid a month more on Patreon. How's that? I don't care. I'm the one in charge of the company accounts, so like I can hide that if I need to. If HMRC are listening, I'm not going to do that.
Honest.
I could use it as a business Switch.
Claim it back on expenses. Tax free, baby.
Do you know how any of that works?
No,
me neither. That was the podcast live stream. It was really good. It was only an hour late, but we gave you an extra half an hour. There's value.
So good for you.
Thank you
little pod
to...
babies.
I'm going to turn around. Thank you to Disappointed Dragon, who I believe subscribed on YouTube when we weren't live. So here is your shout out for that. Thank you to Captain Buddy 7 for the salt and for being our first subscriber on Twitch. And because we're affiliates, that actually means something. Lovely. Yes. You can listen to the
Yes.
podcast
Oh, yes.
wherever
Oh,
it is that you listen to podcasts. It's like the thing that's happening now, except edited. And by crikey, I'm sure you agree that we need some of that.
Let's hope it's better.
Ben, pick 3 episodes of The Conversation Hat that people should listen to if they haven't heard the podcast.
You should go and listen to the episode where we have Rich Wilson.
Yep.
Very funny, very bearded comedian. He's a lovely bloke. You should go and listen to the. I like the most recent episode with Ali Warwood.
Yeah,
they're both damn good episodes. But yeah, I really like the most recent one that we've done with her. And well, who can say that there is any podcast guest better than Ben's dad?
Yeah, good shout.
I tell you who could say that. Not people who know.
That's if you know, then you would not say that.
If you know, then you'd know. Yeah.
If you did say that, we'd have to assume that you don't know. My top 3: Ashens. Did you know gaming?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I was going to plug one of Simon's episodes, but he's plugging that himself in the chat. Ashens, Did You Know Gaming? Richard Jackson, Valverde Broadcasting.
Yeah.
That is one of my favourite episodes. We are, fingers crossed, this week recording with Duncan Casey, the other half of Valverde Broadcasting. So if you know what we're talking about, oh boy, you be prepared to know what we're talking about more. Yeah.
Than currently.
And also, yeah, the Simon Pettit episodes are actually quite good as well. So there's that. No, I like them. There's some good ones.
No, that's all right. You're entitled to your opinion. No, they're okay.
Oh, wow, you saved it there. Good job.
Thanks.
Right, pod babies. I'm going to hit the button. That means we go away and the sketches come back. How's that?
You do that. See you later.
Ah.
Kisses.
Jeremy Mange, isn't he strange? But listen to his voice, he's got incredible range.
No. 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 Back. Down. No.